I'm Clever Ghoul, but you can call me Nikki. Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to show you how to take a cheap plastic cauldron and with a few simple steps upgrade it to look like it has a rusted cast iron sort of texture to it. Basically taking a plastic cauldron and making it look more realistic. There's nothing wrong with a plastic cauldron, just leaving it as it is, but it really doesn't take that much to transform it and to make it look realistic, and the result is so worth it. Now this is an easy project, but there is extended drying time in it, so it might take anywhere from 2 to 3 days. Really, I think I did it total in 2 days, but some things do need to dry overnight, so keep that in mind when starting this project. Now this cauldron, you can use it as a candy bucket, you can use it as a decoration. I'm personally going to be using it as a spooky witch's brew sort of special effects decoration where I have mist and colorful light coming out of it, so it looks extra spooky, ooky, and kooky, but you can use this for all different types of decor purposes. With all that being said, let's get into it. For materials, you'll need the following. A plastic cauldron, really any size you want. Mine is about 7 inches and I got it at my craft store. This is a small size and I think in the future I would go for something bigger, but really whatever size you want to do. Sandpaper in medium grit, matte Mod Podge, a large chip brush. I used 1.5 inches, sand, spray paint or acrylic paint. You can use either one. I opted for spray paint, but if you only have acrylic paint and some brushes on hand at home, you can totally use that. I just find spray paint to be a little bit easier for this project, so I use the following. Krylon Fusion All-in-One Hammered Brown Paint, Krylon Fusion All-in-One Gold Metallic Spray Paint, Krylon Color Max Flat Black, and to seal it, Krylon Satin Finish. Not sponsored by Krylon, but it's a good brand. Now, if you also want to make this have a special effect feature like I did, and you don't want to deal with dry ice, you can also pick up a mini mist making kit and a submersible LED light. Everything I used, minus the cauldron and the sand, will be linked in the description box below. First, I removed the handle because I'm not going to hang this and I don't really like the look of it, so I just snipped that off. Then I took some sandpaper and went around the entire cauldron. You want to add texture here, both for the glue and sand and paint so that they're able to adhere later, and just to add a little bit more roughness to the overall look of the cauldron. To get into some of those tighter areas, like where the handle meets the base of the cauldron, I took sandpaper, folded it in half, and then took that edge and pressed it into the seam between the two to help sand that area. But really that's my only tip. You don't have to be too precious about this here. Try to buff out any seams or anything if you can, but really just continue until you've sanded the cauldron fully. Now it's time to add the first layer of texture using Mod Podge and sand. Before I started, I put my cauldron in a low-walled cardboard box so that when I was putting sand on it, sand wasn't going all over my desk or all over my floor, and I had everything concentrated for easy cleanup, and I just wanted to put that tip out there because sand gets everywhere and is so annoying. From there, you take your dry chip brush, dip it into some Mod Podge, wipe off any goopy excess, and then make some strokes going in different directions back and forth. You don't want a big blob of glue here, but you also don't want it to be too dry. Then take a little pinch of sand and sprinkle it over the area. You can press the sand in and manipulate it here while the glue is still wet. I suggest playing with the amount of sand you put on the glue as well. Maybe you have some areas that are more sparse and some that are more dense, just because I think it's more impactful to have varied textures going on the surface versus one even texture of sand all over the whole thing. When doing this, I recommend doing small patches at a time. That way it's more manageable and your glue won't dry up on you too quickly, and then you can really see where you want those denser or more sparse patches to go. Continue this process around the entire cauldron and then leave it to dry for a few hours. It may be better to dry overnight here, but really if you give it 3 to 5 hours, I think you should be fine. Once dry, I tapped off any excess sand and then went back in and added some more glue and sand in areas where I thought needed a little bit more texture. Just following the same process as before. You can do this as many times as you want, but I only did this twice. Then leave it to dry overnight. The next day, I took it outside to spray paint. I started with the hammered brown as the base for the cauldron, following the directions on the can, building up one layer at a time until the entire cauldron was covered. I knew I wanted to add a little depth back into the cauldron before adding the black paint, so I took my gold spray paint and put a very, very light amount on it, not covering it completely like I did with the brown, but just adding some light patches here and there. After letting that sit to dry for a little bit, I pulled out the black spray paint and started adding in those layers. I sprayed this lightly around the cauldron, allowing both the brown and gold to still show through and not get completely covered up, and I really focused on the black being most concentrated at the bottom of the cauldron, mimicking where fire would hit it. Once all the painting was done to my liking, I sealed it with satin finish spray and left it to dry, which means it's time for the reveal. Here it is. I'm really pleased with how this turned out. Compared to where we started, I think this is a major upgrade, and I think it is so worth the time it took to do it. Again, it's not a super complicated craft, and really the thing that takes the most time is just waiting for paint to dry. Like I said, this could be used as a candy bowl or just a decoration in the house, or you could add some special effects lighting like I did below. I will say though, if you're going to use this mini mist maker, it does spit out a lot of water. So really you want to do this in an area where you're okay with things getting wet. If you don't want to use a mist maker and you still want to use this as light up decor, I think what you could do is fill it with some light tissue paper kind of sticking out, and then put the same puck light in there at the bottom, and it would still have that fun light up effect without having to deal with the water. Like I had mentioned, if you want to do this with acrylic paint, you totally can. I would say follow the same steps as I did, just using regular paint instead of spray paint. Now, I also wanted this to be a little bit more rusty looking, so I used warmer tones. If you want this to be a little more classically spooky and creepy, I would go for more of a gunmetal metallic silver underneath instead of brown and gold, but I really wanted it to be a little bit warmer. Anyway, this is a really easy project that has a lot of impact when you're done, and I know that it's one that anyone can do. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!